As an RPA developer, it is important for us to stay relevant to the updates in UiPath. So here in this video today I am going to present about the 2024 cumulative updates, where we are going to discuss about some of the updates which are available in UiPath Studio. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mukesh. I am a 4 times UiPath most valuable professional, certified solution architect and an advanced RPA developer. And recently I have also got the LinkedIn top wise. I have shared my LinkedIn details on the page. Feel free to connect me on the LinkedIn and I would be happy to be part of your network. So as previously mentioned, today in this video we are going to discuss about the 2024 cumulative updates. Please remember that this is not the only update. There is a huge list of updates which has happened in 2024. We usually do this series on channel time to time, but I was not able to do it for a couple of times. Apologies for that. So today we are going to discuss that what all has happened in 2024, at least from the studio point of view, because I believe most of us are the developer here, right? Talking of the agenda, so this would be our agenda for today, where we are going to discuss all of these topics. This list is very huge. I'll share the update links in the description where you can go and read about more of the updates, right? At any point of time, if you want to skip the video and jump to a specific section, please use the timestamp in the video description and the video shall navigate to the point which you are interested in. Also, we also have a small WhatsApp community where I have a couple of developers along with me in that group. At any point of time, if you face any difficulties, you can post in the group and the people in the group will try to help you. And also, whenever there is a new video which is getting uploaded, you get a direct notification on your mobile phone. So feel free to join the WhatsApp community. And lastly, in case you are coming to the channel for the first time and haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in the same playlist, right? Having said that, let's get started with today's video on 2024 cumulative updates. Okay, so I am back to my machine and let me just open UiPath Studio. So as you can see, the UiPath Studio is updated to 2024.10.1, which is the latest one in the community edition. So I'll go here and I'll create a new process and we will call this process as 2024.8 maybe updates. Yeah, and I want you guys to please follow along with this tutorial so that you are also able to see that what's new, right? So good practice, updates in product, right? And I'll just say create. Okay, we'll just wait for the studio to fire up. As you can see, I'm using the 2024.10. I'm using the enterprise trial, but all these are applicable to the UiPath community version as well, right? So all you have to do is just have the UiPath updated. In case it's not already updated, you can you can download it from cloud.uipath.com, right? And explore all of these updates, right? Meanwhile the studio is loading, let's discuss about the first update, which is very generic and you might have already seen it, right? Which is the flowchart improvement. Okay, so the people who have already been coding in UiPath Studio, you know that we have different kind of workflow, sequence, flowchart, state machine, and then we have the G handler, right? Now the existing flowchart, right, which was before this update, which was 2024.4.4, it was there, but it was difficult to manage that flowchart. It was difficult to arrange the flows. It was difficult to add the nodes, and sometimes it get a bit messy, right? Because when the flowchart was huge, the developer need to spend a lot of time to adjust it, understand the flow, and the thing was you cannot collapse it, right? So with this update, the infinite canvas expanding you to build the workflow. Infinite canvas means that you can just keep on adding the nodes and the flowchart will grow gradually as per your screenshot, right? The snap to grid functionality is available, which I'll show you, which can actually make it easier to align and organize the components. Okay, you can continue adding the top level annotation visible to the top of the canvas, right? You can add annotation again, that's a good practice. The design for the nodes and the connector has also been enhanced. If you can see on the screenshot, right, the sequence look different, the node look different, right? Previously it used to just like a triangle, but now the design has been improved, right? And you will also be able to label any connector using the property panel, as well as the ability to delete one using the context menu, right? So previously in the previous version it was difficult to update the connectors and add properties to it. With this update of flowchart we would be actually able to do all of that, right? So let's try to see all of this in action. I'll go back to my UiPath Studio now. Okay, so I am back to my UiPath Studio. So the first thing first, I'll go to the new and I'll say new flowchart, right? And in this I'll say that flowchart update, right? That's what we are going to see, and I'll say create, right? And now this is the new flowchart design, right? As you can see, there are a lot of grids here. If you compare it from the previous flowcharts, right, that was a plain white canvas, but this is kind of a grid, and you can see that you have this whole canvas available, right? If I go to the activity and if I just type here flowcharts, right, you would see that I am getting these activities. The activities are exactly the same, the flowchart which we have used. You have the flow decision and then you have the flow switch, right? So now let's say after this I want to have, let's say, a log message activity. So I can just go here and I put a log message. My bad. I'll just go and take a log message activity and see, put it here, right? And you can see that now this log message activity is not showing as the complete activity occupying the space. Whatever you want to update, you can just double click on it and that will open the activity for you. However, in the actual flowchart you see this only, right? I just updated the activity log message, right? Now let's say I want to take a decision. So I'll just go here and I say flowchart, and now if I take a flow decision, you would see that the design of the flow decision is different, right? And then let's say I want to add a sequence. I just go and add a sequence to the left side, okay, which is the true block. You can always change this, right? And then I just put it on the right side and I can connect it like this, right? Much more simpler and much more clean version of the flowchart, right? Now whatever you want to do in the sequence, you can just double click on it and you can just write the code inside this sequence, right? But if you look at the flowchart, that is precisely, it's very simple, right? Now one thing you would realize here is that as soon as I take a flow decision, that means that it is only going to have two properties. One is true and the other is false, and that's why you always have this true branch and you always have this false branch which is available, right? I have no other option, which was not there in the previous one as well, but now you see this label which is by default available for you true and this label by default available for you as a false. So all you have to do is just put your code, what do you want to execute in the true block and what do you want to execute in the false block. Okay, if I go to the flow decision and I click on properties, you would see here there is the decision name, what is the false label and what is the true label, right? So let's say you want to change this false label to something else. Let's say age is not let's say age is maybe greater than 21, anything, right? You can change it from here, right? So you can just go here in this one. For this line you don't have the property, this is controlled by this flow decision here, which is the label. I can say that age is something like this, right? You got the concept, right? So this is the new advancement in the flowchart where it looks pretty neat. You just have this. And now if I talk specifically about the other activities, if I just go here and type flow decision, yeah, this guy, flow switch, sorry. If I take a flow switch, this is how the flow switch look like, right? Previously it was having a very big thing, but now the flow switch is a simple one. The flow decision is indicated by this X and flow switch is indicated by this kind of arrows, right? Now all you have to do is you can just can copy paste this sequences. I can just keep on adding like this and you would see that it's actually adding the stuff as we want, right? Because it's a flow switch, right? Much more easier and much more simpler to understand, right? Okay, so now if you go and see at the top, you are seeing that there is no condition in the flowchart. Okay, that's fine. So let's say I'll go here and I will just write a condition. Maybe I'll create a variable. I will call it as, let's say, integer age, right? I'm just creating a dummy variable and I'll change it to data type to integer. Okay, it's created as boolean, right? That's fine. Okay, so we have this condition, right? And for the flow switch also, right, let me just go here and pass the integer variable. Maybe I'll just go here and I'll create a variable for I'm just creating a dummy variable, right, for flow switch. Okay, and I'll call this as integer, and that I will pass to the flow switch, right? So guys, in case you are new to usage of the flow charts, we have dedicated videos in English and Hindi where we are explaining how to use flow charts, right? So this video is specifically targeted on the updates, right? So we're not going into the implementation, right? So flow switch, yeah. Okay, so now that error is gone, right? Now what else we have here? If you just right click on this canvas, you would have a couple of options such as show all conditions. If I click on that, now you can see that the conditions are highlighted, whichever we have put, which was not there. In case you want to hide it, you just say hide all conditions, right? Okay, so the other thing is, if you go to the properties of the actual flow chart, these are exactly the same. You have the validate unconnected nodes, which in case if you have any unconnected node, it will validate and it will show you the error, which simply means that let's say I just drag and drop this here, right? So now it is showing an error because we have put this option on. But if you don't want to validate it, you can just uncheck it and then you won't get error for this node, right? So validate the unconnected node, right? Exactly the same, right? Now lastly, there is one other thing, right? So for example, you are writing this automation and you already have a flow chart which is created, right? And what is the next option? We usually go and we usually drag and drop it on the main sequence, right? So that part is exactly the same. You just go and you just drag and drop this flow chart like this, right? And you can see here that this flow chart is now visible like this, right? The other option is you can always go to the activity and you can write the flow chart directly into the automation here as well, right? And you can expand it, and now if you'll see, it is showing you the same canvas exactly here, right? Where you can just go and whatever we want to do, we can just do here, something like this, right? So you can just use drag and drop, invoke workflow, and the other part, if you have a small workflow which you don't want to invoke, you can just use directly the flowchart like this and you can anytime collapse it, right? In the previous version, it used to expand across and it was difficult to manage, right? So this was the new update in the flowchart, right? I personally like this update very much. Let me know in the comments by commenting, let's say, flowchart update, so that I understand that you guys also like this update or this feature, right? Okay, so the talking about the next update is Autopilot generate workflow from text, right? So for example, you are writing a requirement and you are not sure that what activity I want to use. So same like Studio X, now Autopilot is available in UiPath Studio for you, where you can generate the workflows from text. Now please remember, this cannot write the complete automation piece for you, but if you have some smaller basic requirements, you want to write some operation, some sequence, some step of activities, that Autopilot can always do. This feature is called generate workflow from text. You have to just go to the command palette and you just have to write the expression. You would have something which is called generate with Autopilot, and Autopilot will generate the code for you. This is the same feature which was available in Studio X, but now that is available in UiPath Studio as well, right? Let's see that in action. So I'll minimize this and I'm back to my UiPath Studio, and here to see that this was the main sequence, so maybe I'll just go here and I'll create a new sequence. I will call this as Autopilot. Okay, Autopilot, and I'll say create. Okay, So once the sequence is created, to open the command palette, you just have to go to the top and you see this small search kind of icon that's called the command palette. Go to that and you would have all these options. This is the same option which is available for universal search, jump to activity and all of those stuff, right? So here you have an option which is called add activity. I'll click that and it is asking me to select the activity, right? But I don't have an activity, I have an automation in the mind, right? So let's say today I have a data which I want to read it from, let's say, OneDrive or SharePoint, and I want to just send an email, right? So I just say here, read data from OneDrive and send an email. Okay, so that's my requirement. I do not want to use the existing activity. I want to have this piece of automation for me. And as you can see, I am automatically getting an option which says generate with Autopilot. I'll just go and click on this button which says generate with Autopilot, which says use natural language to generate your next steps, right? So whenever you have any kind of requirement which you are not sure of what activity to use and you want to use Autopilot, you can use this functionality from UiPath. And now you can see here it is getting updated, which says read data from OneDrive and send an email. And this is the automation which you have got, right? You have the activity, you have the read from the file, and you have the send email. That is what we have got, right? So now you might be thinking how this will know that what is the OneDrive, whose OneDrive I have to use, what is the folder and all of that. You have the valid question. So all of that you have to just configure in this activity, and all of this is using the UiPath integration services, where UiPath is using integration services on the cloud to connect to all of that, right? But the good part is you would see that you have got this complete automation. If this looks good to you and you want this surrounding sequence, if no, you can just say keep. If you don't want it, you can uncheck. Looks good to me, I'll just say confirm. And now all of this would be added to my automation. As I was mentioning, right, UiPath has a feature which is called UiPath integration services, where it connects to the other third party like SAP, Salesforce, Outlook, Teams, Zoom, Google Meet. We have a lot of integration services which are available. So specifically for these kinds of automation, Autopilot is suggesting you the connections from the integration services, right? And once it is done, you would see that all of this is available for you. You just have to customize as a developer that which OneDrive I want to use, whom do I want to send an email, what would be the receiver, right? And all that information you have to pass, and you already have an automation which is readily available for you, right? Now you might be seeing here UiPath is installing the packages, which means that I have put a requirement which I didn't have the dependency in my automation. So that's why UiPath has to install the packages to get those activities available for me, right? If I would have used something where I already have the dependency, then this action will not happen for you, right? So we'll just wait for this thing to get the package installed, and then let's see what we have to do next. Okay, so after a couple of minutes, I can see that my automation is ready, which says get the file from OneDrive. You have to just add a new connection, that where you want to have this OneDrive, read the data from the file and send an email, right? You already have some of the body and you already have some of the subject, right? How cool is that, right? Now to add a connection, you can click on this button which says add a new connection. This will open the integration services. You just have to specify your OneDrive username, OneDrive password, create that connection, and this automation is ready for you, right? So wherever you have these requirements where you want to connect to system, have a requirement, send an email, do all of that, use Autopilot, auto generate workflows, right? I personally also like this feature, and let me know what is your view on this, right? Is it helpful? It is not helpful? And if you like this feature, just let's say comment auto generate workflows, right? So I'll understand that yes, you guys are on the same page. Okay, so I'll keep it as it is, and now let's move to the different one. Okay, so that was about the generate workflow from text. The next one is Autopilot fix expression, and trust me, this is a game changer for the developer who are not having much of a programming background, right? I always say that you need to have a little knowledge on vb.net and all those stuff, right? But with this, right, you can actually auto fix the code wherever it is a syntax error, right? No longer to count the parentheses, I have opened it, I have closed it, or with a simple click you can actually generate the small expression during your activities, right? So this one is a very good feature where you can auto fix the syntaxes which you write in the code, right? And wherever you have to generate some expression, data conversion, all of that now Autopilot can take care, right? This one is really good, right? Let me show that to you in code, right? I'll minimize this, and here I'll just go and I'll say I'll create one more which I call, let's say, Autopilot fix, and I'll say create. Okay, now for example, today I am writing an automation. Okay, that's what I'm doing, right? And here in the value, okay, let's do it something else, right? So I'll go to the variables, and in the variable I create let's say a string variable. Okay, I'll call as string variable. This is a string, and then I am actually having a date time variable, and that I will call as browse for types, and that variable is, let's say, date time. Okay, yeah, system dot date time. Okay, so this is the date time variable, and this is the date. This str date is a string variable, right? Now let's say here I am trying to pass the date time variable to date, and I am getting an error here which says that you cannot convert a date time variable to a string variable because these are the different data types, right? Previously, if you are not having this feature, you would actually go and try to fix this by your own knowledge, do the internet, Google search and all. If I open this, now you have this option here which is autofix. Okay, let's try to see. Click on it, autofix, and you can see now it converted that date time variable to string for me. I can save this, and my error is gone. How cool is that, right? Let me show you one more interesting stuff, right? So let's say I am writing this automation, okay, and I got this some expression from somewhere from internet and all, right? And I got this expression which was like this, okay, and there is some syntax error. Maybe I'll just remove this. Okay, there is some syntax error in this expression which I just got it from somewhere. As we can see that I just removed one of the parentheses, right? Again, because it is programming, everything, the opening and the closing braces should match, right? All these small things, you can just click on autofix, and it is giving me that complete thing. How cool is that, right? Let me show you one more interesting stuff, right? You can just go here. Okay, so let's say this is the date time, and my automation requires me to only have the month from this date, right? I want to extract the month from the date. You have to go to Google, search the syntax, get back here, forum and all those stuff, right? Whatever you do. Other thing is I can just go here and I say extract only the month from the date, and I say generate. Let's see what happens. So we have two things. One was the autofix, and now if we see here, date time var.to string Now this thing is only going to give me the month because that's what I have specified, right? So all these small things, whatever you want to do, you can just do it directly right away by writing these expressions, right? This is the again use of Autopilot, and for the developers who are having a less background of programming, this thing is a game changer for us, right? Let me know what do you think about this feature. Okay, so that was about autopilot fix expression. In case you guys are interested to know more about the autopilot, I have created a separate videos on autopilot where we are exploring more of these features in details, right? So in case you guys are new to autopilot, I have posted a video link in the description. You can just watch the video and get to know more about this complete autopilot thing, which includes the other things as well, which are available in Studio and Studio Web. Okay. Now moving forward, I want to talk something about which is the UI automation, which is user interface automation, where the automation is supposed to happen with the help of clicks and the UI elements, right? So over a period of time, UiPath keeps on updating the UI automation, but this time there is an update which is relevant for the developers, is ask user on the runtime error, right? Which means that whenever you are executing an automation during the debugging and you get some exception, now Studio is going to ask you that what do you want to do? You want to indicate, you want to retry, ignore, or continue. In the previous one, you only had an option of retry, ignore, continue and all those stuff, but now you have something which is called the indicate element, right? I think while talking it might not make more sense. Let's go back to UiPath and try to see this in action, and this will make more sense then. Okay, I'll minimize this and I'm back to my automation, right? Now to use this runtime feature, this feature is available on project basis, which means that whatever setting you do is restricted only to this project which you are working on, and it's not replicated to other projects in Studio, right? So to enable this setting on your project, you have to go to the settings, and then you have this button which is the UI automation modern. Okay, UI automation modern design, right? Also, by the way, in case you're new to modern design, please do watch the complete playlist on modern design so that these things make more sense, because modern is the default experience in UiPath. Classic is no longer available in the newer versions. Okay, so in the UI automation modern, you would have an option which says ask user on runtime, and by default both of this value is set to false, right? So this is the default setting. So I'll just say okay, and I'll keep it to false just to show you guys that this value is false, right? And now I have this automation here. I'll just remove this. Let me just open a notepad, right? Let's try to see what happens before and after so that we are able to understand that what is the update. Okay, so I'll just go here and where is my notepad? I'll open my notepad. Okay, and here let's say I want to click on this file button, simple automation, right? I go to activities, I say use application / browser, right? Modern activities, right? Please do watch the modern playlist in case you guys don't understand all of this, right? We have already covered all of that, so not spending much time there. I will click on the notepad. Okay, and here I want to click, so I'll just go to activities and click, which is this one, CV, not the CV one, the normal click, and I'll indicate it on the file button. Okay, and I'll just say confirm. Simple automation. Notepad is there, use it and click on that button, right? Now with this I want to do one setting which is like, do not open the notepad if it is not already open, otherwise it will open itself and it will click it, right? So in the open I would just say never, right? So it's not going to open the notepad if it is not already open, right? That's the just setting I changed, right? And for the runtime setting, it's still off at the project level. Okay, so I'll say close this, right? Now if I just go and I say run the file, let's see what happens, right? So at this moment I am expecting an error at the runtime because the notepad is not open and the runtime setting, which is the new setting, is toggled off, right? So this is the usual behavior, how the automation behaves. Okay, we'll just wait for the automation. It's going to take 30 seconds default timeout, right? And then let's see what happens. Okay, and you got an error which says that application notepad was not found, right? So that is what was expected. Okay, so first thing first, let me just go and reduce this time to something less so that we get this error sooner, right? So in the timeout, this is in seconds, 30 seconds, so I'll just make it to 5 seconds so we get the error sooner, right? Now for example, we are writing an automation, and after that I have other activities such as log message. Just drag and drop it here, right? So you have a set of automation which is having errors, that what I just saw, and then I say that this is the next activity. Okay, now this runtime feature is available when you are running the automation in attended mode or in the debug mode, right? So if I just go and instead of run, this time I am saying debug the file, right? So in the runtime we have seen that you have an error which says that there is a runtime error, automation cannot do anything, right? But what happens when you run the automation at the debug and you have an error? Okay, so again, that notepad is not available. UiPath automation started, it is looking for that, and this time we reduce the time for 5 seconds, so you will get the error in 5 seconds, right? So as you can see here, you get an error here. I say step into, right? I say, it says no automation is available. I say step into, right? You get this error and the runtime execution error and the automation stopped, right? Notepad was not available and you were not able to continue, right? Usual behavior. Now let's go to that setting which we just talked about, settings, and into the UiPath modern. I'll just toggle this setting to on, true, true, okay, and now same automation, run in debug mode, debug the file. Okay, and this time the toggles are set to on. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, it will look for the notepad for 5 seconds, but this time you will get additional options like this, right? Since you have toggled that button on, application was not found. What do you want to do? You want to retry or you want to continue? If I click on continue, right, then it came to continue, and then I can say continue, continue, and this is the same error. However, if I just use the other options, right, let's see that as well. This would be useful when you are writing the automation for the first time and you are getting an error, right? So while doing the debugging and all, you can just fix it, right? Now I was writing a code and I figure out that, okay, I forgot to open the notepad, right? You have an option retry here. I can just go here, open the notepad without debugging, retry, clicked on the file button, and automation continued, right? So wherever during the UI automation there was some action which was supposed to happen and that didn't happen during the debugging because of any data failure or you don't have the access, right? You just run the automation, keep this setting on, right? Automation will wait for you, and in the background you can just now put all those activities, open that application, get the data during the development, and then keep continuing the automation, right? If I just run it again, you would see there was one more option. Okay, let me just okay, I forgot to close the notepad, my bad. I'll just close this, and now there was one more option which was called the indicate element, which means that instead of you opening it, you also has an option to indicate the element during the debugging phase only, right? So it's here. I say indicate application, and now you can just indicate the application whichever is this, right? And you will get it whichever application you want to indicate. I just click anywhere randomly and it will just adjust it accordingly, right? So I'll just stop this. I hope you got the concept. The concept is simple. During the runtime, if there are some activities, some actions which are supposed to happen and that's not happening, you can actually set this runtime error to on, so that it saves you from rerunning the complete automation again and again, right? Very good feature for developer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay. Okay, so the next thing which we have got is the new activity in the UI automation pack, which is the set runtime browser, right? So a lot of UiPath developers have always wanted a flexibility to work with multiple browsers at the runtime, and since this runtime browser we were not able to set. Now you can set that by using a new activity which is called set the runtime browser. So this feature will allow you to easily configure the browser type used for the automation execution. With the set runtime browser, you can set the runtime browser once, which means that at the beginning of the automation, I say that the browser I want to use is Chrome. So now that Chrome is set for the complete automation till the time it gets a new set runtime browser. So let's say first you have set the runtime browser to Chrome. You have 10 activities, then you set the runtime browser to Edge. Now this will become Edge, right? So it's simple, right? Set the runtime browser activity, set it to the runtime browser once, keep running the automation till the time you find the other set runtime browser activity. The benefit for this is the process of running the automation across different browser, eliminating the need to change the manual selector, reducing the duplication of the testing codes, right? Now to handle this order, all of these options are available through the set runtime browser activity. You can directly use this activity which is shown in the screenshot. I'll show that in the UiPath Studio as well. Or you can also set through the runtime browser project setting. Same like I did the project settings for the values, runtime values, you can set the project setting, browser setting directly in the UiPath modern design experiences, or anytime you can do it from the use applications less browser, right? Let's see that where exactly the settings and what is this activity. Okay, so back to my UiPath Studio. So I'll go to activities and I'll just say here runtime. You can see here you have something which is called set the runtime browser, right? What browser you want to set during the runtime, and you have the default value which is the browser type. You can set it to Chrome, Edge and Firefox, or you can set it to none as well, right? This is one place. The other place is you go to project, go to the settings, the same place, right? You go to the UI automation modern, scroll down and you would have this guy which is the application/browser, what all are values, and runtime browser, right? So let's say during the runtime I want to use a different browser, during the debug I want to use a different browser. All of that is available for you in these settings, right? One more good update from 2024.4 release. Okay, so I'll cancel this. Next in the list is coming, which is save to cloud on Windows project, which means that now you can store the Windows project which are developed in UiPath Studio to the cloud, which is the UiPath cloud, obviously, right? Originally this setting was only available for the cross platform automation and not for the Windows type of automation, but now this functionality is available for you where you can directly save your automation, whatever you are writing, directly to the cloud solution, and from there you can just use it in other Studio desktop or in the Studio web directly, right? And this option is available for you here, which is save, and then you would have a new option which is save to the cloud, right? Let's see that in action. So I'll go back to this. So let's say this is the project. I go to the save and then I see an option which is save to cloud. Now the cloud, it is the same cloud which you are connected to, which the same account your assistant and Studio is using. This would be pushed to the same cloud, right? We'll just wait for this action to happen. And now you can see that this solution would be available for you in the cloud, right? You don't have to trust me. You can just go to the cloud. I'll just go here, easiest way. You can go to the data manager, and you can just click on any of this, let's say view all processes, and that will directly open the browser for you. It will navigate to that place, right? And you will have all those stuff there, right? I'll just bring it here. Okay, it has opened the orchestrator for me, right, without me even logging in, right? One quick thing which I always do. So it's loading. I'll just wait for it to load. And the name of the automation was 2022.8, right? So I'll just go and open this again, right? So in here you would have this guy which is the Studio. Just wait for this to fire up. This is going to have the Studio web, and whatever you have created there now would be available for you in the cloud. Okay, And you can see here, you see 2024.8 updates, which is the UiPath updates in the product desktop version, which I just put 2 minutes ago. Right now you have an option here to see the automation details. You can click on it, duplicate, you can again share it, open in your studio desktop, or you can just download it. Right, so this feature was newly introduced in 2024.6 release. Okay, let me know if you find this helpful, and if you have any other thoughts on this, just let me know in the comments. Okay. Okay, so moving ahead, the next one is the Invoke workflow file unified look and some of the enhancement, right? So this is the one of the most common activities which the developers use when you have more than one XAML files, right? We pass automation XAML via arguments from one automation to other automation. The first thing is now you would see a different kind of a look which you see in the Studio Web, cross-platform automation, and the Studio Windows automation. Now everywhere you would see this same Invoke workflow. Apart from that, there has been small enhancement which has been done on these activities, which we will see directly in the code. Okay, so I'll minimize this, go back to my UiPath Studio. This is the code which we have been working on. I'll go to, let's say, new, and I'll create a simple sequence. I'll call this as, let's say, sequence A. Right, so let's say I am a developer and I am writing a huge lot of automation. Okay, and in the arguments I just create arguments, let's say in underscore A. Okay, I'm just creating sample workflow in underscore B, and I have an argument called out underscore B, which is nothing but an out. Right, and while during this I have passed the value here A. Okay, so this was my automation which I have created. It, you can think it of any automation. Okay, now I have other file. Let's go to, let's say, main. Okay, now in the main.xaml I want to invoke that automation, so I'll delete this existing one. Okay, and now to invoke this, you can use the invoke workflow activity, or you can just directly drag and drop it here like this. Okay, now the first thing you would notice here is that the following arguments are missing or misconfigured: integer A, integer B, and out B. It is telling me that you have 3 arguments which are required to run this automation and you have not configured it. Right, open workflow is exactly the same workflow which is available here. Now one thing you notice here is when I click on the arguments, now it is not showing you that what arguments you want to import, right? Because it has not used that same set of arguments, because if you see here in the sequence it required 2 arguments, right? But now if I go here, it is not asking me that which arguments I want to do. In case you want that, you have to click on this button which says import arguments, and now it will import those arguments only when you say it. Right, because there are a couple of times where the developer do not want to actually go and import all these arguments, right? So I say import arguments, and then only you would see all of these are available for you. Right, previously when you do it for the first time, let me just again show it to you. I'll just go to the project and I say sequence A. Right, now here it shows that these are configured, but if I go to the argument collections, you don't have anything here. Right, now you can always add an entry because you already know the keys. Let's say you only want the out variable, you can just put the out variable and use it. But let's say you want it to have the previous behavior, you just click on this guy which is import the arguments, and now you would see that all the 3 items in the dictionary are automatically imported for you without you writing anything. Right, so this is one of the new advancement in this workflow activities, right, where depending on your requirement you can only try to invoke the ones which are required, and it is going to show you by that message that what all things were missing. Right, so now let's say I do not want this input, I can remove this, save this. Right, and now it is showing me that there is one argument which is missing. Right, this is not an error, please remember, this is a warning, right, which says that you are missing one argument. You say that okay, I want to import arguments, you can click on that and it will again import that arguments for you. Right, much more handy feature whenever you are working with large set of arguments, or you want to have the full control on the invoking of the XAMLs. Okay, so I hope you like this feature as well. Let me know your thoughts again on this update as well. Okay, Okay, so the last update which you see mostly in the studio would be in the for each activity, right? So the for each activity is an activity which is used to iterate a lot of elements, right? So the initial view of the for each is now simplified. You just have to pass the list of the items you want to iterate, and you would see that the activity adjusting itself. Previously it was only able to adjust the current item, but now it will also adjust the name of the activity itself, right? So this I am giving you as an assignment, right? So what you have to do is just open your UiPath Studio, take a for each activity, okay, pass any collection, maybe a list of string, list of integer to it, and let's see how it automatically adjust as per your input, including the name and the other properties. You get an option which is called the show advanced option, which has the item name, current item, and all this information to easily customize, right? So this I am giving you guys for an assignment. Just practice this for each, just open it and let me know in the comments that what was your feedback on this update as well, right? So that was our last update for this video. There is a comprehensive list of updates which UiPath has done in this year. I will post the link in the description where you can read it and try it on your own, right? Okay, so that is all I wanted to cover in this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any more comments, any more doubts, let me know in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well, right? I'll appreciate your feedback on this video and the overall content. With this, wrapping this video here. Thank you for watching and happy automation.